Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. We're in the studio. So get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all things Manchester United. And of course, the fact that the Reds are going back to Bilbao. This time in the Europa League final. We have gotten through to the final. And pretty emphatically, if we're being honest, 7-1 on aggregate. It wasn't all plain sailing. We know that it wasn't all plain sailing last night at Old Trafford. Obviously, Bilbao, or Athletic Club, I should say, getting that goal in the first half, which made you think, hang on a minute. But then in the second half, Manchester United, the substitutes made a big difference. We're going to be getting into all that. Mason Mount, the man of the hour. Ahmad as well. Can't say enough good things about him. But and others as well. We don't just want to focus on some of the substitutes because there's like Selena Yoro, Casemiro. It was a good performance by quite a few Reds. But yes, I hope if you're going over to Bilbao, you've managed to get flights and travel and everything has gone through the roof price-wise. I'm hearing messages about even hire cars are like 5 times dearer than they usually are. So good luck to everyone who is travelling over there. And hopefully, I will see you over there. Let's talk about Ange Postecoglou. Because... right, people love Ange, don't they, right? The media and everyone's like, Ange Postecoglou is great in it because he calls everyone mate and he played a high line against Chelsea when he was down to 9 men. But he does get a bit aggy in press conferences. And he's been getting aggy this season as he's been suffering a terrible season. Like Manchester United have, I'm not pretending we can look down our nose at Spurs and the season they're having. But he does get a bit aggy sometimes. And he was asked about, I think it was Ruben Amarim had said, about the fact that winning the Europa League doesn't just make it a successful season for Manchester United. And he was asked about that, and I think there's a story, Sky Sports have got it. It says that Ange Postecoglou hit out at Spurs' critics, saying they are trying to diminish the team's achievements because they fear Spurs. And it says here, why do I care what Manchester United think? Ask the Manchester United manager why he says that. I've said all along this is an important... Sorry, I just can't see that. This is important, sorry. So it says here, United boss Ruben Amarim said that it wouldn't be a success this season if United won the Europa League. That still doesn't make it a successful season. Ange was asked about that, and he got a bit aggy, didn't he, saying, why do I care what Manchester United think? Ask the Manchester United manager why he says that. I've said all along, this is important. So I get that, and he goes, what's happening right now is people are fearing that it actually might happen, and let's see if we can tear it down and diminish it somehow by saying it's been a poor season, and we don't deserve this or that, and comparing us to Manchester United. So... sorry, there's a little bit more there as well. If you can just scroll up. Sorry, there's something in the way. Maybe if we'd had Manchester United success, I'd have a different view. So I get it, to be fair. I understand it. And I don't like the idea of people trying to downplay it when you get into a final, especially if you, no disrespect, but let's be honest, if you're a club like Spurs, who haven't won a trophy in 17 years and haven't won a European trophy, I think, in over 40 years, it is a big deal for them to be in a European final. There's no denying that. And I'm not saying they've had a great season, because they haven't. I think they're round about the same position as us in the league, which speaks volumes. But I can understand why he's pushing back on that a little bit. It's just when you watch the footage, you can see he's getting a little bit moody there. And I hope he's getting moody. I hope he's getting rattled. I hope he's getting a bit aggy, because we don't want him all zen and all happy, do we? We want him to be a bit fearful of what's coming up. But there is a decent point to be made about this is a big game and this could be a big achievement for Spurs. And it'll be a decent achievement for Manchester United. You can still have a bad season and end on a high. We did it last season. Last season wasn't a great season for Manchester United. We finished 8th. I mean, compared to this season, that's absolute bed of roses. But we finished 8th. We lost so many games, especially at Old Trafford. So many poor performances. But at the end of the season, not only did we win the FA Cup beating City to stop them doing the double, but en route to that, we also knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup in the quarter-final with that memorable 4-3 game, and obviously ruined Klopp's farewell tour. So you can have high moments in a poor season, and I think if Manchester United were to win the Europa League, get into the Champions League, it would end on a high. But I don't think you can look at the season in entirety and say that it's successful, because Manchester United have had so many bad results and poor performances. I'm hoping that we win. Obviously, I want to win. And this can be the catalyst for something that we can kick on from this under Ruben Amarim and sort of start moving forward as a football club. I'll get into some of the comments. I know loads of people have commented already, so I'm going to get into it. Make sure before I do that you are hitting that like button as well, please. People, Wayne Davis says, Bill Bound, GGMU UTP. He's been a member of the Academy for 52 months. Thanks for your support, Wayne. Good to see the usual suspects in the chat as well. Notch is here. Dal CV, Sam Turner, Flashbone 52, Heaven's Soul, Colin Coupleditch. Hit that like button, please, people. Chris Griffith says, he always wins a trophy in his second season, though. Is this a good thing? Surely the football gods are red. He does always win a trophy in his second season. I think he's said that many a time. But these records can go out the window. Jose Mourinho always won the title in his second season. Do you remember? He always did it. I think he'd done it at Porto, he'd done it at Chelsea, he'd done it at Real Madrid, he'd done it at Inter. Comes to Manchester United, I think he'd done it again when he went back to Chelsea. Comes to Manchester United, he doesn't do it. These things can change, don't they? I don't think, these sort of records are infallible. It's not like, oh, that's it, he's going to win because he wins a trophy every time in his second season. We'll see what happens, and this is going to be a bigger test than probably he's had in his previous clubs as well. Also, let's not forget that whilst Spurs have beaten us 3 times this season, which isn't anything to be happy about from a Manchester United point of view, it would be proper Spursy, wouldn't it, to lose the big one, the final against Manchester United when you've beaten them 3 times already that same season. Who knows? Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let me know what you think. SoCal the Devil says, good luck with the marathon, Jay. Thank you. I am doing a half marathon, the Manchester half marathon I think it's in about 2 weeks, in a week on Sunday it is. So thank you. Loads of people actually have donated. I'll put a little link in the chat if you want to. It's for Alcohol Change UK. I'm an ambassador there. It's a bit of a good cause. Cause close to my heart. So thank you for everyone who's donated and got involved in that and helped me out. Appreciate it. Let's talk about Lenny Yoro. Yeah? Because Lenny Yoro was just phenomenal, wasn't he, yesterday? You can see his stats there. 1 assist, 2 key passes, 11 defensive action, 10 out of 14 duels won. Just a fantastic performance from Lenny Yoro, and I've been very impressed with him. I know we've had some signings over recent years where you go, what we're thinking, what's going on there, but this is a signing that already looks like it makes a lot of sense. I know he's only young and it's only new, but you can understand why Real Madrid wanted him. It was a bit of a coup, Manchester United getting him, and I've been very impressed with him, and those sort of stats from last night remind us all just how good he is and how good he was. That run he went on, I think, was for Mason Mount's goal. What a run. Yeah, definitely a player there. Hopefully he'll be at Manchester United for many years to come as well, because I've been very, very impressed with Lenny Yoro. Let me know what you think. There's a link, by the way, to the Manchester Marathon, the half marathon that I'm doing. I'll just put that in the chat if anyone wants to donate. No worries if you don't. Adam Kenny says, congrats on the marathon. Have a drinking celebration. A non-alcoholic drink. A few comments on that as well. Phil Berry, the Manchester half is quality as well. Thank you. Joe James John says he also drove with the ball. Talking about Lenny Yoro. Yep, he did. Every day says he was brilliant. Heavens. Also, there's a bit of a chat going on. Ishan Tiwari says, Yoro, Maguire, De Ligt sure looks like a solid back 3. Ahmad and Mazza can play wing backs. Marcus says, there's no need to play 5 defenders and 2 DM at home while leading 3-0. Guy says he's very cool in his interviews too, not fazed by any hype. Yeah, he's a bit of a cool customer, Lenny Yoro, and you can see some other stats there. He's averaging 2.54 progressive carries per night this season, put him in the top 3% of centre-backs in major European competitions. Unreal ball carrier. That's from Statman Dave there. And he's right, you can see it with your own eyes, don't you? You don't need to see the stats, to know that. You can just see it from watching the game and seeing what he does and seeing how confident he is on the ball. And I've been impressed with the fact it's his first season. He's had a couple of games where you can say, okay, still finding his feet. But by and large, it's been a very, very good campaign from Lenny Yoro. It can be hard coming into the Premier League as a young player, especially as a defender, especially into a dysfunctional Manchester United team that are conceding so much possession in our final third, or in the opposition's final third. In our third. And also conceding so many goals, issues with the goalkeeper, there's been question marks there, issues with midfield injuries, who's going to be in front of him, who's going to be alongside him. He's had a lot to deal with, Lenny Yoro, and I think he's come out of this test with flying colours, and I'm looking forward to seeing him much, much more in the future. We had the quote, sorry. Yeah, so you can see the quote here from Lenny Yoro. It says, I've tried to bring the ball forward to help the team score goals because that was really important to us. He referenced, I think, as well, Rio Ferdinand. He does remind me a little bit of Rio Ferdinand, the way he carries the ball out of defence. And we should see that from Manchester United defenders. That's what you should be doing. Defenders at United should be carrying the ball out. That's what we always used to do. And I think that's what Ruben Amarim wants to see. And Lenny Yoro does that. It was a big loss when we lost Lisandro Martinez because he's excellent at that. But Lenny Yoro is someone who's picked up that mantle and he's done it very, very well. And I think that when Martinez is back, I think we've got some good options there. I think Martinez, De Ligt, Yoro, Maguire, of course. There's some decent options there. Aiden Heaven, who looked like he's a real player, did very well, didn't he, against Fulham when he came on, against Sociedad as well, and that first half against Leicester before he got that unfortunate injury. So I think we could have some good options at centre-back moving forward for Manchester United. Let us know what you think. Stuart Thomas says, "G'day Jay, sorry I'm late, no worries." Ishan Suari says, "Dogu is quick with his feet, but seems to mess up simple passes quite often. Needs to be a bit more consistent." I'm not too worried about Patrick Dogu. It's his first season. He's come to a big club. Where's he come from? Lecce. Young lad, first season. I think he'll be okay. Let me know what you think. Lee Birch says, "I'd rather have Jim Leighton in goal than the fool we have now." So he's not a big fan of Andre Onana. I remember Jim Leighton when I was a kid. We had Les Sealey's son on, Joe, on the Brew last week. And obviously, Jim Leighton got dropped for the FA Cup final replay after a bit of a ropey one in the first game, in the first FA Cup final, where we drew Crystal Palace 3-3. So, yeah, Jim Leighton, when you say I'd rather have Jim Leighton in goal, it ain't a compliment, in case you were wondering. If you're a bit young, you don't remember him. Let's talk about Casemiro. Casemiro, here's some stats from TNT. Won a penalty and provided 2 assists in the comeback against Lyon. Opened the scoring against Athletic Club in the first leg. Scored against Athletic Club in the second leg. Casemiro in Europe. He's been fantastic, hasn't he, in Europe, Casemiro. We did a video on Casemiro the other day. Go and check it out. It's up on the channel, where I was sort of praising him and highlighting how much of a turnaround it's been. Many of us, and I say us because I was one of them, last season and maybe even the season before, were looking at Casemiro and going, What's is he quite the player that we hoped he would be? I think it was mainly last season, wasn't it? The season before he was really good. The performance against Crystal Palace, performance against Arsenal, performance against Brentford, then earlier on this season you saw it against Liverpool, you saw it against Spurs. A lot of question marks with Casemiro. But then look at the last few months. He's just stepped up and you can see the quality. Players like that, they're always going to have that quality. It's just whether they've got the legs for the game. And there was some question marks, and Jamie Carragher said, you need to leave the football before the football leaves you. Casemiro's still got a lot to offer football. He really has, and he's doing so well for Manchester United in Europe this season, and it'd be great to see him lifting that trophy at the end of this month. Hopefully he will. Danny Richards said, "Steady Eddie in Europe." Sam says, "Lindelof going soon, don't worry." Musician 47 says, "Donation done, I appreciate that." Guy says, "Dogu's pass for Garnacho's chance was weighted beautifully." Someone else says, "That was a bit of a random attack on Onana, lol." Yeah, it was actually. I read the comment out and I got into it, but yeah, it was a little bit random. Santa Notch says, "Gary Bailey criticised Onana last night, said if he didn't try to save with both hands, he'd have saved Bilbao's goal." When at the time, I just thought, it's a banging goal. And then what you just said there, Notch, when I watched it when I got home last night, I thought the same. Because usually when you go with one hand, you can get a little bit more distance, can't you? You can stretch a bit further. So when you see shots in the top corner, 99 times out of 100, a keeper will be just using one hand to try and get there, to get a little bit more leverage, to get into that sort of, get as far across as you can. But Onana went like that, which restricts you a little bit, doesn't it? You can't dive as far when you use both hands. I've just combined hands and arms. When you use both hands. So I get the criticism there. I get what Gary Bailey's on about, because I think had he used one, I maybe would have got there. But at the time, I just thought, it's a fantastic finish. I still think there's going to be question marks around Andre Onana. I get that. I understand it. I'm not going to pretend that he's been fantastic throughout the entire season. I think he's been slightly better of late, but I get it. I get there's still a few sort of doubts. Look, listen, he's going to play in the final. I don't think Bayern Day's done anywhere near enough to warrant a place in the final. I don't think Tommy Eaton's going to be in consideration. So we're going to have Andre Onana. I just hope he puts in a decent performance and helps us get the win. And then maybe Ruben Amorim can assess it in the summer and decide whether he believes Andre Onana is good enough to move Manchester United forward. We've got some quotes from Mason Mount, the man of the hour. Mount, who's obviously had a torrid time at Manchester United. Injury after injury after injury. Came with all this fanfare, the number 7 shirt, big price tag, lot of expectation after what he'd done at Chelsea. Never really got going until hopefully last night. I mean, he's had a couple of goals. I think he scored against Brentford twice, innit? But never really seen the play we wanted to see, or the play we saw at Chelsea when he was winning the Champions League. However, last night, the composure, the finish for the first goal, and then the second goal as well. People look at goal as an open net, but it's a decent finish. Let's not dismiss it. He did very well. He said here on speaking to the club after the game, said, "It's been difficult. Obviously, since I've been here, I've had the injuries, the setbacks, but I always stayed positive, and I knew something good was going to come, and I carried on going." I mean, it was good to see that. I think if you'd wanted anyone to get a goal last night, it would have probably been Mason Mount, and I'd also said Rasmus Højlund because I felt like he needed one. So yeah, good to see that happening for him. He says here as well, we kind of weathered the storm, and then obviously seeing that first goal to make it 1-1 kind of calmed us down a little bit. I just tried to come on and affect the game. It was a tight game when I come on along with the other subs, so I was just trying to come on and calm the game down and have an impact, and he did that very, very well indeed. Let us know what you think about Mason Mount. Someone says, and it was on his left leg, Vincent, yeah, for that second one. Harry Potter says, if Mount can stay fit, we've got a player there. Some more quotes here as well. I was in front of my midfielder, so I just had my head in. If it comes to me, first touch and shoot. Didn't need to go on my left foot, but I just tried to get good contact because I saw the defender was quite far away from the goal. Yeah, good goals from Mason Mount. Good performance from him, and hopefully it'll be, the start of us seeing the real Mason Mount, because I don't feel like we've seen it just yet. Also, a bit more as well, just before we move on. It says the crowd's been unbelievable. They've stuck with us. For me personally, obviously my first goal's here at Old Trafford, so a special night, one I've been waiting for a long time, a special moment for us tonight, and we want to finish strong now. Good stuff. Obviously, Ruben Amorim likes him, and you think that he would fit into that system as one of the two number 10s, so we'll wait and see what happens there. Ahmad, my boy, Ahmad. Love Ahmad, me. Some stat here from Statman Dave. It says Ahmad has been directly involved in, is that 18? My eyesight's shocking. 18 goals across all competitions this season. Only Bruno Fernandes and Alejandro Garnacho have been involved in more for United. It's now the most productive campaign of his career at any level. Not bad when you consider he missed a few months of the season. And he also missed a bit at the beginning of the season when he wasn't always getting in the side as well. It doesn't feel like Ten Hag quite fancied him, which was a little bit odd to me. And I've been saying this for a little while now. I don't understand it. But last night, when we were 1-0 down and he was warming up, I wasn't the only one, but I was saying we need to get Ahmad on, get at them, and we did, and he did. And obviously Mount played his part getting those 2 goals as well. I'm not saying it's all about Ahmad, but you can see the difference that he makes when he comes on. He runs at defenders, the ball stuck to him, he brings in other players as well, and you saw the goal for Rasmus Højlund. He just put it on a plate for him, didn't he? Højlund needs a bit of that sometimes. He needs someone who can actually just give him a clear-cut chance, and that's what Ahmad did. And I just love watching him. He feels like a proper Manchester United player, like a throwback to the type of United players we used to see during our glory days. Let's talk about Ruben Amorim and his quotes for after the game. He says here, it's not just playing Champions League next year, it's that feeling that we can change things. So he talks, Ruben Amorim, about the feeling, and obviously it's not just about being in the Champions League, about the idea that things can be different, that things can improve, and that we can change things. I like that. I like Ruben Amorim. I'm desperate to see him succeed. I think he carries himself very well in press conferences. He's stuck to his guns with his formation and this system. I know it does change slightly during the game as well. We have to remember that. But he has stuck to his guns with it. It hasn't worked in the Premier League. I think we can all be honest about that. But it has worked in Europe. And if we can lift the Europa League, if we can get into the Champions League, then he's going to give himself a real good chance next season of moving this club forward. My big concern, Ruben Amorim, is that the board at Ineos don't give him the time he needs. That's my worry. I'd give him as long as it took. And I think most of the Manchester United fans would as well. But Ineos might look at it, if we don't win the Europa League, and go, I don't want to be too negative because it's a positive morning after the result we've had. I'm just being honest with you guys. Let us know what you think. What Doesn't Kill You says, I'd love to hear Ten Hag's thoughts on how well Ahmad has done. He must have had a reason for not rating him. Obviously wrong, though. Ten Hag gave clear timelines for Ahmad, Ugarte, etc. when they joined returned. He said it would take them a couple of months. People slagged him for it, but it was exactly how it went down. So what he said, see, I disagree slightly with that. I think that if you look at Ruud came in, didn't he, and was like, Ahmad was straight in. And the weird thing with Ahmad and Ten Hag was, we were talking about this earlier, like he'd have good games, he'd do well, and then get dropped. Last season, if you remember, I think it was the FA Cup semi-final against Coventry where he came on and was moved into midfield. and then he's rotated again not long after that. I can't remember, I might be getting my dates mixed up, my games mixed up, but he didn't really get much of a chance with with Ten Hag, sorry. And then Ruud comes in, it's like, yeah, you're one of my main guys. Same with Ruben Amarim. But we saw that player in fits and starts under Ten Hag. I don't think he got a fair crack of the whip. It was a different, bit of a weird one as well, because he wasn't even getting off the bench at times when we needed him. And it just felt like the manager was kind of making a statement. That's how it felt to me, that he wanted to keep Sofiane Amrabat, the board weren't into that. He wanted to keep Scott McTominay, the board weren't into that. They wanted Manuel Ugarte. It felt a little bit like Jose Mourinho towards the end of his time at Manchester United. Let me know what you think. Bjorn L says, Anthony is good enough for the Premier League. Gavin Barker says, Anthony can win 2 European medals. Anthony is genuinely min. Anthony has been smashing it again, hasn't he? Has he got like 11 goal involvements in 20 games since he went to Real Betis? And have they just got through to the final, is it? Yeah. Is it the Europa Conference? Yeah, so they're through to, it must be, innit? It's not the Champions League. They're through to the Europa Conference final. He's done very well at Real Betis, absolutely smashing it, scoring goals with his right foot, for heaven's sake. We never saw that at Manchester United. So there's every chance that he can end with a trophy. Seen here from Fabrizio Romano. Anthony scores a beautiful free kick, making it 8 goals. Sorry, it's 12 involvements. I'm doing him at this service. 8 goals since joining Real Betis in January for Man United. 12 goals or assists since signing for the club. I mean, he's done really well, Anthony. I still think he'll move on permanently in the summer, and I think he probably should. I don't know if bringing him back and expecting him to do what he's done at Real Betis is the answer. I think the positive aspect to this is we should be able to get some money for him and reinvest that money into the squad. M20 Dan says, can we keep hold of Euro? Maybe not forever. He might end up moving on. But I think we can keep him at least for the next few years, and hopefully during that time get back to where we belong, which is right at the top of world football. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Thank you to everyone as well who donated and made a donation, to the half marathon I'm doing for Alcohol Change UK. I appreciate that. Going to be back later on today with The Brew. We've got a special guest, a very, very, very funny guest coming in. I can't wait to chat to him. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Don't forget as well, you can go and check out all the reaction from last night. Joe and Howson and Andy Tate all on the channel as well. So go and check that out. I'm Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.